Test. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to the Emoji Pop stream. I'm cool. Trying to figure out how to stop the music from playing. Okay, cool. All right. So today, my plan is I just released World 7 in Emoji Pop. And that comes with a new obstacle called the bow and arrow. So I really want to kind of show you how I make levels with this new obstacle. And I also want to play through I believe it's World 6, because some of the levels in World 6 I'm not too happy with, so I think I'm going to play through that world in front of you guys and kind of just talk about what I think about the levels and maybe try to improve them, get feedback from you. So I think that's the plan for today. Let's get started. All right, so just a reminder, Emoji Pop is it's a mobile puzzle game, but right now it's available online. So you can play it from your phone or your computer at playemojipop.com. The address is right here. It's a really cool mobile puzzle game, and it's incredibly unique. The biggest new feature of Emoji Pop is that you can design your very own levels and then share them with the whole world. So I'm going to be designing levels in this stream. I try to do these level design streams every day. But if you want to make your own levels, feel free to send them to me through Twitter or Instagram. You can message me or just tweet at me at ldillonwoodbury. And I would love to play them on the live chat in the future and give you feedback. And we can all learn from your design, and we can figure out together how to improve it. So let's get started. Right now in the game, I am at World 6, the light bulb world. So the way light bulbs work is they change colors each turn. So if I shoot these green bulbs here, they're gonna match, and then all of the colors change. So it's a really important obstacle to include early on in this game, because one of the problems that players of Emoji Pop face is that when they don't really understand the strategy of the game, they kind of tend to just mindlessly play. They just make random matches and they end up losing because of that. So what the light bulb does really well as an early game obstacle is that it snaps players out of that mindless mindset. So because everything is changing each turn, players are constantly having to reevaluate their choices, to read the board, and look for more optimal moves that are constantly changing. So sometimes you'll see these light bulbs, they line up with the matches and they make big chunky matches, or they form huge drop points, and then they'll change and maybe they're worthless. So it's constantly changing the value spots on the board, which I really like. So I'm just going to play a little bit more of this, get to the first level, which is the star up here. So hitting this soap is going to drop everything below it. So see here, I have a yellow and a blue. So the best move for me to make right here at the bottom is this blue match, since it's the biggest, chunkiest match. The yellow match is very small, so I'm going to go for the blue one. I like to just talk about how I perceive the game while I'm playing, just to let you into my head a little bit. So see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So because this yellow bulb match now is lined up with this yellow emoji match, I can hit them together and save moves. So that's kind of what I like about the light bulb emoji. It creates these high value spots and they move around, so it makes players feel really smart and feel really good when they hit a really good one. Alright, so we're at the first level. Cool, so this is what I really wanted to check out. I want to play these levels because some of them I'm not too happy with, and this is a live game. So I just kind of put everything out there and I'm just improving everything over time. So let's see what I think about this. So it's a pretty basic level. The first level in a world is just supposed to introduce you to the obstacle, just to make sure you understand how it works. It's like a little test. So right here I have a huge red match and a huge green match. A little blue, little yellow. I have a red, so I'm going to hit the big one here. Alright, we got a good blue match here that I can hit. Yellow, green. I guess we'll go with the big yellow match here. Green match. Okay, we got 9 moves left. There's a good green match that lets us into the top row, so that's awesome. I wish I could hit this red or this yellow, but they're both blocked. Maybe I'll try to like open up a gap here. Alright, so I could hit this red, or I could go for the top row red. This seems like I'm gonna have to hit it eventually anyway. But maybe the bulbs will line up with it, so maybe I'll just go for hitting this one right now. So see, I wanted to wait on the red because now I can save moves by hitting 2 matches at once. So look, this blue light bulb match really lines up well with this top match that I have to make anyway, so I'm gonna hit that. And it looks like I'm gonna be able. Oh, I missed it. Let's see if I can still win. So I designed the game, and so I'm still making mistakes. So I like that it's not just a totally deterministic game. Okay, 2 moves left. If I can nail these shots, I'll win. Cool, and I won the level. So I won my last move, and I made a big mistake at the beginning. So that seemed like a pretty good move count for this level. I would want to play it more times though, because one problem I'm noticing is that I had colored emojis at the top and then light bulbs below them, and it could kind of lead to a frustrating experience if the light bulbs aren't lined up with the top emojis. So I'd want to, when you play a level that you create, you want to play it a few times because, especially with obstacles like the light bulb, it really changes how the game plays from playthrough to playthrough. So you might play it once and it plays amazing, and then you play it 5 times after that, it could play horribly. So it's good to play multiple times and trying to use multiple strategies to get the full advantage of the level. Alright, so I beat a level, so I get to spin the slot machine. Ooh, 4 smiley faces, so we get plus 10 moves. So I have 102 moves now. Just so you know, the way the game works is that once I run out of these moves, I won't be able to keep playing, and I'll have to wait for these moves to regenerate for a few hours, and then I can continue embarking up the world. So this is a good yellow match here. Wish I had a yellow, because then I can hit this soap, but I don't. This will open up that matchup there. So blue-red, that doesn't give me any access to the top, but I have a blue, and so if I hit this red bulb, I know I'll be able to get to the top row with the move after. Boom. Alright. So there's only 2 levels in this world. I thought it was longer, but that's interesting. That was a good green match there. That was a chunky match. Those big, when you use light bulb emojis, it's really good to make it so occasionally a bunch line up, because that makes players feel really satisfied, and it kind of makes it so that the level doesn't play the same every time. Sometimes they'll get luckier, sometimes you won't get as lucky, and that tension of randomness creates more replayability, because players feel like they have a chance of winning next time because they know sometimes they get luckier than others. Cool. Okay, so I used dice and bulbs in this level. I think there's another level I had up here, and I must have gotten rid of it. So that was the level that I wanted to change, so that's comforting. Curious how this one plays, though. So this one also includes dice emojis. So light bulb emojis change each turn. It's a pretty simple but important obstacle. The dice emojis are a little more complicated. When you hit them, they'll roll like a normal die, and when they land, they turn into a different color. And so, for example, this is a pink die. If I hit the pink die and it turned green, it would then form an automatic match with all the green emojis around it. So it's got a really strong element of chance, which is important, like I said, for replayability, for making sure each playthrough is a little different. And sometimes when you're stuck, like, you can just shoot at some dice and it might happen to roll and form a huge match. So if you're not doing well at the end of the level, one of the most frustrating things is, like, if you have 10 moves left in the level and you know there's no way you're going to win because you're so far behind. So you feel like those 10 moves for that minute of gameplay, you're just wasting your time. So including this element of chance in the form of these dice emojis, it allows players to feel like they're still in contention for victory. So even if they've made a bunch of mistakes, they think, okay, I'll take riskier choices and maybe try hitting these dice a little more aggressively, and maybe they'll end up getting really lucky and saving me a bunch of moves, and I'll end up winning. So it's really important to use dice in levels where you want players to feel like they always have a chance of winning, even at the end, kind of. That's a good way to use it, at least. So let's play it. So I hit the yellow die, it turned yellow, nothing happened. Pretty good pink match here. I'm going to hit that and also roll the green die. So stayed green, nothing happened. I see a great cross match here. So a cross match is when you match between two different matches. So there's a green match here and a green match here. And if I can kind of line it up just right, I'll match both of them together. That feels really good, and the players feel really smart. So I like this level because I feel like there's a lot of choices. Do I want to keep going up the right, or do I want to go up the left side? For this match right here, do I want to hit these red? This red match is a pretty crucial match at the top. But if I could sneak it in here, this yellow match would drop the right side and open up the top. So I like that there's some really interesting choices. In addition to randomness creating replayability, having an abundance of choices also creates a lot of replayability, because players feel like, oh, I could have done something else. I could have made different choices, and so they'll be more willing to play your level again in order to try those new choices and hopefully win. So I think I'm gonna hit the red match and try to wedge it in right here. So maybe it hits the yellow's dice, and maybe they do something good for me. Oh, so see, it turned pink. So I made the red match. That die turned pink and made the pink match. So that's like 2 matches for 1. That's like a huge win. So that's why dice are so fun. So it looks like I have to go up the left-hand side a little bit. I have 10 moves left. Cool, so that was another chain reaction dice match. Sometimes it's hard to see what's going on because it happens so fast, but once you understand dice, it kind of becomes more natural. So this pink match is awesome, drops everything, and now I know I'm going to win for sure. So I think I got really lucky and I made some high skill shots, so I think I deserve to win with a bunch of moves left over. I hope it's not too easy for players. I don't want to make levels too hard early on in the game. I kind of want players to be able to win and keep winning and feel like they can... I want players... Like when I played... for example, when I played Toon Blast the first time, that game was it's a really big match 3 game. And I love their level design because for the first 100 levels, if you're an expert match 3 player, you feel like you want to win every single level. You feel like you want to keep going and keep your streak going, basically. And so that's what I want here. So even if you're a great player of these games, I want you to feel like you have to win every single level and see how long you can go. So I like that it's like not too hard. It makes the game engaging for high skill players. But because it's a little bit on the easier side at the beginning, it's also approachable for total newcomers. Cool. Oh, I'm getting really lucky. Another plus 10 moves. So if you keep beating levels and you keep getting the slot machine working for you, you can just make a ton of progress if you keep up that streak. Just gonna check my chat is working. The YouTube chat is off, but feel free to message me in the chat. Not that anyone's necessarily watching right now, but eventually I'll have people chatting me. Feel free to send me your levels on Instagram and Twitter. Go to playemojipop.com to create an account so you can design levels, and then you can send them to me, and I would love to play them. The best way to learn game design is to create levels or games and have people give you feedback. So I think I might be done doing that. Let's see. The next world is going to be... I believe it's the bow and arrow world. So I guess I might as well beat this world and get to the next world. So there's a huge blue match. So you see, like, sometimes these bulbs, they are just little matches, and sometimes they form huge matches. That really swings things. It feels really good to make those matches. Alright, I'm just trying to creep up to the top now. I love playing in the world because in the worlds, the game shows you exactly where your bubble's going. So you can kind of make some really tight shots and learn exactly how the aiming works. But in the star levels you play, you don't know exactly where it's going to end up. So it's more focused on like skill. Okay, so I beat the world, which allows me to also spin the slot machine. Didn't get quite as lucky, got +6 moves. Cool, so we unlocked the last world so far in the game, the bow. And whenever you unlock a world, it shows you what the new emoji is, and I also have a video of me kind of explaining what it does in like a humorous way or whatever. I'm still working on those videos though. Alright, so the way the bow and arrow works is when you hit a bow, it launches an arrow that clears all of the emojis in its path. But also, the bow and arrow will rotate each turn. It's kind of like how the bulbs change colors each turn, which forces players to constantly reassess their strategy. The bow and arrows are similar. They rotate each turn, so players have to constantly re-examine, like, what's the best move to make? Should I hit this bow now, or should I hit it later? You can design bows to just like flip-flop between left and right over and over again, so players know there's a pattern. Or you can kind of make them do like random movements so that it's less clear where the bow's going to end up, and it adds like a little bit more randomness to the game. So for example, if I hit right here or just hit this bow here, it's going to launch arrows that go up, and they'll actually hit these bow and arrows here, which will shoot arrows across, and it'll clear all these with one hit. So I'll do that now. Boom, boom. All right, so it cleared all those. So that was the first shot in the world. When I design these worlds, if there's a new emoji obstacle, I want you to be forced to interact with it right away so that you start to understand what it does, and by featuring it prominently, especially at the beginning, I'm communicating to the players that this is an important thing that they need to grapple with. Whereas if the first 5 moves they didn't interact with the bow right away, they would kind of start overlooking them because they don't think that they're as important. So for example, so now second shot, again, you have these 2 bow and arrows that I'm hoping players will hit. And so that'll launch an arrow to the left, which will launch an arrow to the right, and it'll clear this whole row for me. So now I can either hit this arrow here, or I can play the first star level. I think the star's not going anywhere, and this arrow's in a good spot, so I'm just gonna hit it now. So clear the left-hand side, opened up this other bow and arrow. But for now, I'm gonna play the star level. Cool, so the first level in any new world, I always try to lightly reinforce the concept of the new obstacle in like a simple way. So these arrows, I designed them to just flip-flop left and right, so players know where they know where they're going to end up, so they can kind of think into the future. Okay, this bow is going to turn left next turn, and that's better for me, so I'll not hit this turn and then hit it next turn. So I'm kind of reinforcing an essential strategy for the emoji. So if I hit this arrow, it'll shoot the left emojis. I wish I could gain access to this arrow, but I can't yet, so I'll just make a match on the side. I could, getting a little unlucky here. So I finally opened up the bow and arrows again. Oh, it was at least. So one thing I'm noticing is I feel like players there, they wouldn't keep going for the arrows. They would kind of just keep making side matches. But I think that would cause them to lose because that takes too many moves to not use the arrows. So I'm okay with them losing and then trying again, and kind of that loss highlights the importance of the arrows in this level, so that's okay. I think I could hit the arrow here, but that would be a waste because the arrow wouldn't shoot anything. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of like establishing the strategy of like foresight, thinking like using your knowledge of where the arrow is going to end up, and so using that to decide when you should hit the bows. So I can actually hit both of these at once if I aim it just right, and I could also make that match there too. Cool, so that shot both the arrows, made a couple of matches. I've got 8 moves left. So this will, I can make these matches and also shoot that arrow to the right, which will drop the whole right hand side, which will save me a ton of moves, and then I'll for sure win. And I can go for the top match to drop the pink match. And there we go. So I only 5 moves left. New players probably will be really tight, so that's like a good move amount. I don't want the first level to be too hard. I want players to have a good positive experience with that emoji for the first time. Whoa, weird. So these level design streams are also they're also debugging. I don't know why. I don't know why the world didn't load when I made that match. That's really good to see. Cannot read property 0 of null. Interesting. Well, that'll be fun to work on later. There might be occasional bugs. I think it's pretty stable. I'm surprised that happened. If anything goes wrong, you can just refresh it and then everything will be fine again. Cool. So we beat that world or whatever. This is a really good bow and arrow hit. Drops a lot of emojis there. So these are both pointed outwards. I might just waste a move because I don't want to waste those on like not clearing that many emojis. For example, see now I can do this and that saves like a ton of moves. It gives me access to that star right there. Ooh, so this is a speed level. So these are really fun if you haven't seen one of these. Oh, and I love this speed level. So this is a speed level where you're not even making matches. So what I love about Emoji Pop, about bubble shooters in general, is that like normally in games, like each level, they're kind of the same game, which makes sense. Like they all share a similar gameplay system. So like in Call of Duty, every level is a shooting level. Like you're not gonna play Call of Duty and it's gonna play like Mario Kart for one level. Surprisingly, like it's gonna be consistent. Whereas bubble shooters like Emoji Pop are the perfect platform for making games because each level can be made to be a totally different game essentially. So most levels, most standard levels, involve making matches, strategizing in order to save moves. This is a speed level that doesn't involve matching at all. It's about your placement of your bubbles and your timing. I'll just play it and show you. So there's no matches. I just have these emojis to shoot, and I'm trying to do it quickly enough while it's all scrolling to hit these obstacles. So it's basically just a big timing level. It's completely different. It's not even really puzzly. Lost. So let's try it again. So it really tests your speed and your timing, and you have to be really accurate as well. Hit these bombs. This is tight. Okay, so now final stretch. And I won. Cool, so beat the level, get to spin the slot machine. 1-6 moves, that's pretty good. Got another star in my chest, which will also unlock me moves. This is like a mini game event. I'm not going to be playing it right now, but every time you beat a level, you have to play one move in this mini level. And once you beat the mini level, which might take you a day or two, you'll also unlock a bunch of moves. So by beating levels, you're just earning moves left and right. So it's really important you go for those star levels and beat them. I wish I could hit that arrow, but I can't. I won't hit it there. I'll definitely hit it here. So this will be really good next move. Can I sneak around? I can't sneak around, so I'll just wait a move. Knock out all these. So I got access to the star now. I think it's going to be another arrow level. Okay, so this is a weird one. So this is one level where, like obviously I have limited time, so I'm focusing more on getting the game out there and coding and stuff. But this is the level that I wanted to have a more chaotic level since so many of the levels are more like structured and simple. So this is a more chaotic level. It uses a few different emojis, which I don't think I've done to this point. It's just kind of a weird. Let me show you. So one thing is you want to get to these bow and arrows because they're gonna there's all these little tiny matches that'll take forever to get through. All the matches are of size 2. So you really need to get to these arrows in order to clear them out and get to the top of the level. So we need to get to these arrows. But when I start playing a couple moves, all of a sudden the arrows mostly. So this one actually is pretty well positioned to do some damage. Let's hit that. But the other ones, like if I open this arrow is pointing down. That's not gonna do anything. This one to the right is not gonna do much. So it takes a lot more like strategy in order to use the arrows well. And if you don't use them well, it can be very punishing. I would like to see what people think of this level, kind of, or see what the win rate percentage is, how many people beat the level. So I could wait until this one goes right to the top right, for example, but it does damage when it goes to the top left. Like, there's all these little choices that I think take multiple playthroughs to figure out what's the optimal strategy. Let's go for these yellows. Cool. So this arrow is now pointed up. I'm definitely hitting that. Cool. That saved me a bunch of moves. So this arrow I have access to now, but it doesn't look like it's going to do much damage to the emojis on the board. So I think I'm going to make this yellow match. It also bothers me that there's all these single bubbles that I can't make matches with. I'm not sure what I think about that yet. So now, see, this is pointed down. I don't want to hit that. This is pointed to the right now. I wish it was pointed to the top left so I could clear the top, but this might be even better. It'll save me a lot of moves. Oh, and it also hit that other arrow that shot up. So now I just need to make these final moves. Can I wedge that in? Yep. And so this blue bulb turned blue, which allows me now to make that match, saving me a move. I really like that. That'll feel really good to a player who's like really close to losing. Do 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 do. So spin the slot machine. 6 moves. Bum 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 bum. Alright, so let's just get to the end of this level, and then I'll start making some levels. Oh, I really wish I could hit that. I just can't hit that other arrow too. That sucks. I guess I'll hit this one. So I could hit this one. Doesn't do too much. This one will do a lot more damage. So now you're seeing like I have multiple arrows, which is the best one to hit. So I'm really hoping players are really reinforcing all of these core Emoji Pop strategies in terms of going for the highest matches and the biggest drops. Oh, so this is awesome because the arrow is pointing towards the star, but I just don't have access to it. If I had a yellow, I could. Have a yellow, I'll do that. Cool. So not only does it do the drop, but it also unlocks the star for me. And this one actually is not an arrow level. I didn't want it to be all arrow levels, so this is like a little break. 25 moves. That's a lot of moves. I'm surprised. All right. So, like I said, the dice, when you hit them, they roll 2 new colors, and if they match colors around them, then they'll form chain reaction matches. So after you shoot them and they roll, they'll make automatic matches for you. Cool. So that one rolled yellow and formed a yellow match. These blue now are form a match, so I can make just a simple match. Oof. So I could hit yellow here, but I don't know. Then I don't think I can sneak the bubble in there. I'm just going to go for the dice instead. So I got unlucky there, but I got blue anyway, so now I definitely can access the soap. So now I see why 25 moves. So that beginning, the beginning was 5 moves, which is really good for a beginning. I invested 5 moves and got to a big clear point and drop and went on to the next phase of the level. That's what I consider like an introduction to the level. It gets me invested and also introduces me to what kind of things I was expected to do in the level. And it's short. It was only 5 moves. That's like the perfect like hook into a level. Like if you spent 10 moves at the beginning before you get any kind of satisfaction or drop, that's kind of a long time. Players are gonna start to feel kind of bored or feel like they're doing something wrong. Like it's nice You don't have to have like a clear introduction, but it does. I don't know. For some levels, that kind of pacing really helps uh, get players engaged in the level. So now I got the next phase of the level, which is all bulbs, and it looks like none of them are really matching with one another. So I'm kind of just trying to use the right colors to climb as quickly up as possible. So it looks like I'm getting lucky with the colors I'm given. I have a green, which means if I can make this tight shot, I can access the Sopro. Cool. So that was another satisfactory 5 moves. 15 moves left. I'm really thinking this level is too easy. But I have all these single dice, so the reason I think I have so many moves is that I was really afraid that players are going to get stuck with these single dice. They're not going to feel comfortable with the strategy of using them enough to understand how to make matches with them, and that they'll just get incredibly punished. But it is the last level in the world, so like maybe that's okay. Ooh, the dice and the bulbs make an awesome match here. I'm gonna make that. So part 1 of the level was here's some dice to get through. Part 2 of the level was here's some bulbs to get through. And now I'm kind of fusing these strategies together. I'm like using the dice rolling strategy along with making the bulb matches that change and reevaluating the color pattern each time. So I really like the pacing and like the evolution of this level. Like that's something that I think is really crucial for developing levels with like character. So I could shoot. Well, I know I need to make a red match up here, so I'll just shoot that automatically. I could shoot. I'm gonna shoot a yellow here. I'll need to make that eventually anyway. Or I could wait until the bulbs turn yellow. So maybe I'll just shoot the dice first. That was a really lucky match, and the bulbs turn yellow right after that. That's a huge match, so that was a super good move. As a player, I feel really smart for making that decision. The bulbs line up with the green match perfectly here, so I can drop everything if I can aim this correctly. Nice. So 8 moves left over. It took me 17 moves. I would probably cut like 4 moves off that level. Let me do that right now. So if you wanted this level to be easy, I hope you're about to play it because it will forever be 4 moves harder. Yeah, let's do it there. Alright, let's get our reward. 6 again. Alright, so this is the top of our level. We have an arrow on the top left and on the top right, a bow and arrow. So it's going to take me less moves to get to the top right one at this point, and I have the colors I need to do that, so let's just go there. But I really hope players, if players decide to hit this arrow, I think I had enough moments below that players should learn to not hit the arrow when it's facing the wall because nothing will happen. But even if they mess it up, I've included another arrow on the top left. It'll cost a few moves. The player will be punished like 4 or 5 moves to get there. So I make players feel smart if they can use the bow and arrow properly at the top. It's like the big test. And if you mess up, it's going to cost you, but you're still going to be able to proceed without too much frustration. So sometimes you have to waste a move. That's the best strategy. And now I can clear the whole level. And that's the last world that's live in the game. I obviously have a ton of emojis that I'm just going to be pumping out every single week. So there's like, and they get more cool each world. So there's a lot to look forward to. Alright, so that was good to kind of just play, introduce you to the game, and talk about some of the design strategies and principles of some of these later emojis in the game right now. So now I'm going to kind of use what I was talking about in my own levels. So when I click, the main game is in this world tab, the world button at the bottom. But if I click the pencil button, it opens the level editor so that I can, using the emojis that I've unlocked in the game, I can use them to design my own levels. And then I can share them directly on social media for every single person in the world to be able to play for free without creating an account or downloading an app. Literally, your game's going to be on the front page of the internet for everyone to play and give you feedback. So, I think that's pretty cool. So, let me think. What kind of level do I want to make? I'm just going to start off with like a warm-up. Maybe I'll show you how to make bulb levels, light bulb levels. So, this is the editor panel, the emoji panel, where all my emojis that I've gained are. I can click the bulb emoji and it opens up a side panel. This is where I program what colors the bulbs should be each turn. So for example, I could click these gray dice to make the first one red, and I'll click the second second bulb twice to make it yellow. So this bulb 0 will alternate red, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow. Let me make another one. I want this one to be red, yellow. Let me make yellow, red. So 2 clicks for yellow, 1 click for red. You can kind of just keep switching between the different colors. But you can add up to 6 different cycles per bulb. So let's do that. So I can make this one go through all colors. So after red, green, maybe blue after that, pink after that, purple after that. So this bulb will go through all 6 colors and will keep rotating. So let me just demonstrate that. I'll put the zeros. So you can click these where it says bulb 0, bulb 1. That's what you click to add them to the board. And if the color doesn't exist on the board in the form of a emoji face, then it won't turn that color because the color is essentially eliminated from the board. So you need to make sure you include the emoji faces for the colors you're using in these bulbs. Cool. So I have all the colors needed. I'm going to save it. So you see that. Save. And now that opens up my level browser. These are all of the levels that I've made. I've made so many. So this is number 298 right now. And I can test it. So I'm just going to show you the bulb cycling. So this was red and it turned yellow. So the left side's going to flip-flop red, yellow, red, yellow. The right side will cycle through all of the colors. Green, blue, pink, purple, and then it'll go back to red or yellow, whatever it was at the very beginning. Yellow, and then next will be red. So that's how you design levels with the bulbs. Let me show you. The bow and arrow is very similar to that. So let me hit the bow and arrow, and instead of selecting which color the bulb should be on each turn, I'm selecting which orientation the bow and arrow should be facing. So this arrow bow 0, it will start off going right, and then it'll flip left, and it'll keep flipping between these two. Let me make a bow that goes between all 6 let me just put it on the board first, actually. I'll put this on the... Yeah, let me make one that goes through all 6. So you can add more by clicking this plus button. So now this one has 6 cycles. So it starts off right, then goes down right. Let's make it go like clockwise. So then down left, then I want it to be left, and then it should go upper left. And then it goes upper right. And then it goes back to the beginning, which is right. So it's going to be going in a circle. So let me just add to the board. So got rid of these. This is one of my first times using a mouse to make levels, and it's so much easier than a trackpad. My favorite is still designing levels on my phone, though. Just easy as you can touch it with your finger. And if you create an account, you can start off on your computer, then you can go to your phone and you can design a level in the car, and then when you get to your home, you can continue on your computer. So let's test it. Oops. Cool. Yeah, the bulbs are just remaining from before. Cool. So let's see the arrow moving. So go down right, then down left. So every move it goes to the next cycle. And it'll keep looping. It'll go back to the first step and keep circling around. So that's how you design levels using the bow. So now we know. Let me just refresh to make sure nothing is weird with the game. A little paranoid about that. So now we know how to use the bulbs and the bow and arrows in the level editor. And so now we can kind of make some levels with those. Let's see. I'm going to make a bulb level. Actually, so let's make an arrow level. So I remember in the last world we played, in that last arrow level, I said it was kind of a weird level. I'm not sure what I think about it. I'm going to leave it in there for now, but let's just imagine I was going to replace that level. Like, I'm going to make a level that I could replace with that level if players don't like it or something. So it's not going to be the first arrow level, so it should be a little complicated, or it should involve like a more complex strategy, or it should be paired with another emoji that creates an interesting mechanical dynamic or whatever. So I need something with like a little bit of a bite in this level. So when I start designing a level, I need to come up with like an initial strategy. It doesn't have to be I don't have to like forethink the entire level in my head or anything like that. What I do is I pick a couple like elements that I want the level to have, and then I play it, and then based off of my playthrough and getting feedback, then I learn like what the level is really about or what I can do to make it a good level, and then it kind of diverges off my initial plan. But the initial plan is just to get something on the screen that you can play, and then what's really useful for designing these levels is to play them, and the playthrough will tell you what the level needs basically. So bow and arrow, how do I want to use these arrows? That's probably like what I'm thinking about, since it's like kind of a tutorial kind of level. That's what I'm thinking about. I have the first level that flips arrows left, right, so I want something where they're either going like up, left, up, right, or they're maybe circling. Let's do a circle. Like, I don't know, that could be cool. Let's just start off trying to make arrows that are like circles. So I'm just gonna set up 6 different bows and arrows with 6 cycles so that they go through all rotations. So that's the first 4, so 2 more. Alright, so the first one starts right, and I'm just gonna make it go in a circle. Next one will start down right, and it will also go in the same. I want them all going clockwise, just so players, players who are paying attention will know where the arrow will turn next move. So I want them to constantly be able to predict where arrows will be in the future, so they can use a more kind of in-depth strategy when they're deciding whether or not they want to hit them or not. So down right, down left, up right. It's also really important when you design levels to listen to music, because there can be instances where it's a little repetitive and you're not reading anything. So I love listening to music. I wish I could like play music on the stream while I do this. So the last one went bottom right first, so I'll do bottom left first now, and make it rotate in that circle we were talking about. Okay, so now this one starts left. Oh, 2 more. So this one should start in the upper left, and this one should start in the upper right. So upper right, down left, upper left. So now we have 6 bows programmed to rotate in a circle, and I could have made just one bow and arrow that rotates in 6 directions, but the problem is they would always all be facing the same direction. So all the arrows would be facing right at the same time. That means when they're all facing down right, none of them are useful. That could be a cool level it's like a gimmick that you could kind of design a cool level around, but that's not really what I'm interested in doing right now. I kind of want them to be like facing different directions and to really emphasize that choice. So we have all of our arrows. Now I kind of need to, when I'm not thinking of a tutorial level, I'm thinking like, I need to start off with an initial plan involving a couple attributes of level design. So do I have a certain structure in mind? Do I have a certain match pattern in mind? Do I have a certain number of colors that I want to use based on the level of choice I want players to have? All of these things are great starting off points to make a level. Also, one really important thing when dealing with these bows and arrows, especially when they turn in all directions, is that you don't want players to hit a bow that like rips through a bunch of matches and rips them in half, and now players are left with like a bunch of crap, a bunch of single bubbles that they can't match. So when you design bow and arrow levels, you have to make sure no matter what direction the bow is facing, it's not gonna like totally block off the player or ruin their chances of success if they hit it in not the exact optimal place. So that makes me think the pattern I want to lay out these bubbles is gonna be like I'm gonna have like these arrows, like I'll have an arrow, and then I'll want the emoji matches to kind of like be like this. So they're gonna be in the diagonal directions of the arrow. So if I hit this arrow and it's going to the right, it'll knock off the right matches, or it'll go down left. So I want to make all of these matches lined up so that they'll never be cut off, basically. So I think this is like that's kind of a cool pattern too. This kind of pinwheel like pattern, like spokes of a wheel kind of. So if I hit this pencil button, I can access the eraser, just so you know. And I hit it again to go back to draw mode. So when creating a level, another like problem that comes up is like, where do you start making the level? Do you start with the top, or do you start with the bottom, or just start with the middle? Like, it really depends on the level and what you're doing. It's kind of hard to talk about what the best strategy is. I've made thousands of Emoji Pop bubble shooter levels in my life, so like I have kind of like an innate sense of maybe the direction that's best to go in. That's kind of hard to express. If you have like a good finish in mind, or like when you can start off designing the top, and when you do that, you're kind of designing the last test of the level. Like, this is what I want players to be able to accomplish after learning everything that I teach them throughout the level. This is like the conclusion. So that can creating the top of the level can make it easier to design the rest of it. It kind of informs you what you need to teach. But on the other hand, most of the time, I think I start at the bottom because I just think of like I have like an idea for a mechanic or some kind of puzzle dynamic in mind, and so I'll start off with just like a really small like version of that at the beginning to kind of test it out, and that'll usually end up being like my introduction. So that's usually how I end up designing. It really depends. I'm just going to start designing this pattern and we'll see what happens. So let's design the top first. One more thing. If you go to edit mode, you can change the size of your level. So by hitting the plus and minus next to calls, I'm gonna make the bubbles bigger and fewer per row. Or you can make it so that you have tons of emojis in your levels, and so this alone will also totally change the dynamics and the kinds of things you can create. So that's another thing. Do I want to have like a really, really tight level where there's not many choices and you got these tight like skill-based shots, or do you want to make a big level where it's just like this massive mess that you're trying to clear? So this one has 8 per row. I'm guessing because of the nature of the bow and arrow emoji, the way it shoots so far and clears everything in its sight, kind of like it might be useful to have a smaller levels to make them a little less overpowered or something. But then I can't really fit as many arrows on the screen at once. Let's just start off with this size level. In terms of matches that I draw, I'm gonna start off with matches of size 2. Sometimes you make random decisions that your gut says they're good, and you just have to put it to the test. Like, you can't fret over every decision because you'll go crazy and you'll never end up finishing a level. So this is where my bows will go. So let's just put a couple. I'm not sure which ones should go where. And put a match in between them. And going out on the side. And then going down again. And I'm also, when I'm drawing these matches, I'm trying to make it so the colors are balanced on the screen. So on the right hand side we have green, blue, yellow, red. And on the right hand side, for example, I don't have a blue yet, so I definitely want to put a blue here. And I'm trying to make sure that within these little regions I have available access to all colors, and within rows, like for example this row here, if all these were yellow, players would get kind of stuck here because they're not going to get that many yellow emojis. So that's one of the reasons why it's really important to just make everything as balanced as you can. When you play through the level, you'll see where you get stuck, and you'll be able to kind of adjust after that. Oops, that was wrong. That should go here. I guess I should have them going up here too, maybe. Blue, and this could be yellow. Another important thing at the top, I want to make sure, especially the colors are balanced at the top. Imagine, we need to change some stuff around here. So imagine all three of these top matches were red. So the top matches that are touching the ceiling are most important because they're essential. Nothing below is technically essential. Like, players can make different matches, but every player who plays this level will make these three matches. These are the three matches every single player will make. So if they're all the same color, if they're all red, players will be at the top. They'll make one of the red matches. Then they'll just waste moves while waiting for the next red. And then they got to get one more red, so they got to go through the rotation and wasting matches. So at the top especially, this is like the conclusion puzzle. You need to make sure that you have variety of matches at the top, and that players aren't going to spend time at the top waiting for the color, because that's really frustrating. When you're waiting for the right color and you don't have it, players start to feel like the game is kind of cheating them. So it's important to have balance, especially at the top row. So put a blue here and a yellow here. I'm trying to wonder, like, now I'm trying to imagine, like, continuing this pattern down, how does it continue? Do I have tons of arrows regularly, or are they going to be kind of more sporadic so that they're more like objectives that the player is going for instead of just constant things that players are hitting to climb? I'm not sure yet, so that's going to be something I find out when I playtest. Let's go red here, green here maybe. Again, I'm not exactly sure if this pattern is exactly what I want. I'm just kind of putting it down. So see, I have red here. This maybe should be yellow. Starting to slouch. Maybe I want arrows like here or something. Also, so far the level's very symmetric. Everything's kind of mirrored. I don't necessarily have to do that all the way throughout. In fact, I kind of like that the top is... I like the idea of the top being symmetrical and then the bottom being more chaotic, because when you get to the top, it's very clear that you're at the top because things are like more structured. Maybe that'll alert players to the fact that this is the top, because another problem of bubble shooter players is that, especially more casual players, when you get to the top, they're used to just making matches and climbing, and maybe they're not thinking of, I have to get to the top row. They're going to be kind of just making matches willy-nilly when they need to be focusing on the top. So doing something to alert them, like, this is the end of the level somehow, like, however you can, subliminally or, like, more over the head, that's really good to get players into the right mindset for the top. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's do a match here, and then do a couple more arrows there. So again, I'm not sure which arrow should go where, so I'm just kind of putting them randomly, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so I will kind of go those directions, which won't cut off matches too badly. I should put something in here. I guess it's one match. Another thing I'm thinking is, like, I have all these gaps. I'm wondering, should I leave the gaps there, or should I fill them in with something like bubble wrap? So maybe I'll just add some bubble wrap here, and I'll see how that section plays, and if I like the way the bubble wrap is there, I can add it in more places. So I guess the one thing is, if you hit the arrow here, it'll cut off this yellow match, so that there'll only be one yellow left and you won't be able to match anymore. You need like a match of size 3 at least to match. So if there's one bubble, there's no way to make a match with it. It'll kind of just get players stuck. So to fix that, it looks like I could add a yellow here, so that when the arrow pierces this one, there's still a match of 2 here. We'll see if that's my long-term solution. I'm not sure yet. So we need more matches here. Let me make sure. I'm not listening to the chat because I assume there's no one listening to me. Because this is kind of a new thing. So another thing is, you don't want to make the whole level. You don't want to like kill yourself making the level on your first like initial pass on it, because if you spend an hour or two making a level or whatever it is, and then you play it and you find out it's all terrible, you'll need to spend a lot more time changing things and stuff. So what I like to do is, we call it a minimum viable product, right? In game development, you want to make the version of the game most quickly that exhibits what the whole game will be, to be able to start testing it and learning from it. So with level design, that is such a critical thing. You want to like make a puzzle that will kind of tell you how the gameplay will be in your fully developed level. So in this level, I spent like 5 minutes on it. I could test it, and that'll save me so much time. I won't have to like detail everything and then find out, oh, I want to change everything later, you know. In fact, let's just save this and test it now. I know it's like not a great level, but I'm just looking to see what is the gameplay, what does the gameplay need, like how is it playing. So I see these arrows up here. Let's see if we can access them. So I could probably hit that, but it's pretty tight. I'm guessing most players won't even know to do that. Let's just try it. Okay, cleared. It ended up chaining with arrows and clearing most of it, and I couldn't even see it, so that's kind of a problem. Let's see. So if I can hit edit to go back into edit mode. So this was facing upright, and yeah, so it hit this, which must have been facing like up or something. Another problem I just realized is, if this arrow is pointing upright, it would leave a single bubble on the top row, which is like horrible. Not sure how to fix that yet. For now, I can just get rid of this match here. Not exactly sure what I want to do with that. So to fix that problem, I don't want these arrows chaining together off screen, because that's just confusing. So I could kind of let me just get rid of the bottom part of this level. So this is why you shouldn't spend hours making a level if you're just gonna get rid of it. I'm actually gonna refresh. I saw a little bug, and I just want to make sure I write that down to fix after this. Oh, someone is chatting with me in Facebook. You're the first chatter. Someone just asked if I am developing the game in JavaScript. I am developing the game in JavaScript. I'm using the Cocos 2D.js engine. I decided to use the Cocos 2D.js engine, and then right after that, they stopped updating it and supporting it. which is a little unfortunate because it's been a little bit of a struggle. Um, so yeah, this game is made in JavaScript using the Cocos 2D.js engine, and I am currently developing a side kind of project that uses the Cocos Creator engine, which is more similar to Unity but also uses JavaScript. I'm really familiar with JavaScript, and I knew I wanted to have like a web game, so it just made sense for me to do it in JavaScript. I know a lot of coders kind of frown on JavaScript, but I love it for some reason because I'm not really a coder. I'm more of a game designer who codes, which is what JavaScript is perfect for, honestly. Just make sure no one nowhere else. See, I wanted to get the Facebook chat in here, but I was having a little problem doing that. All right. Let's go back to editing this level. Oops, I did something. So I erased all this stuff at the bottom. So, see, it's a little stressful making these levels live. I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't have. I've literally made thousands of these levels, so I'm so comfortable doing it. But like, I'm trying to get other I would love other players to stream their own level design sessions. So, I'm working on all these resources and streams to try to like get players to feel comfortable enough to like stream, to make their own games and to try other people's levels online. If you go to the far left button in the game, if you go to playmojipop.com, you'll see I have a list of streamers of the game. So right now it's just me, but I would love to feature people who stream the game in the game and to also up here feature their creations in the game. I think that would be really cool and really focus on community. And not only am I trying to design the game with people, with my players, I want them to have major impact on the way the game evolves. But players also have they also like literally design the content of the game. Like I design most of the levels in the game, but they can design these side levels, or if someone gets really good, I would love to feature their work like in the game itself. So this is like really a community design game in a way, or that's what I'm striving towards. Yeah, I love using this. I've used this game Emoji Pop to actually teach children, to introduce them to game design and some coding concepts, and kids absolutely love this. And one of the biggest problems with learning game development, so I'm more interested in game design. I was always interested in the design of games, not necessarily the mechanical creation of them. So to introduce kids to game design usually involves like you have to make board games, which I get that they have shared knowledge space with video games, but like the things that make video games cool, like you're not gonna find in board games. Like it's not really correlated as much as people believe, I think. So normally you have to use board games to introduce kids to game design, or you have to like introduce them to some kind of pseudo coding thing. And I just don't think that's very necessary for like I want to if I want someone to be able to just pick up something and draw, and you should be able to just really like create games by like simple like drawing and rapid development. It shouldn't be something where you have to like learn like a programming language or something like that. So that's one reason why I really love Emoji Pop and using it to teach kids or aspiring game designers, because every level is totally different. You can make kind of like your own game within a level, and it doesn't require any like burden of knowledge. You can make your first level in like 2 minutes, so it's super. It removes all the barriers to game design. Yeah. So let me just try the top. I want to see how this top section plays. So these aren't in the best position, so I'm not gonna hit the arrows. This is pointing top left. That's not ideal. So right now it seems like I'm just kind of wasting matches while I'm waiting for these to line up correctly. So I think the solution to that is they should be more useful in more positions. So instead of just having one correct use, I want them to have multiple. So maybe I'm trying to figure this out. I want to have a match line going up left, but then up right cancels it. what I could do is make another bow that maybe I'll make special bows for the top that just go between two different directions. It kind of conflicts with the way it works below, but I think it'll make the top play way more smoother. So let's do that. Let's have it go like left and upright for the right hand one, so that it's basically always in a somewhat useful position at the top. So, because I don't want players hanging out around the top just wasting moves. It's not a fun experience. And then I'll make another one that starts up left and then turns right and flip flops. So I think that's a good solution to the problem. So like that's what I'm talking about. When you play your creation, like you notice the problems and then you just have to go through all the possible solutions till you find one that kind of works. And the solutions could be to like make these changes like I did to the arrows, or to change the match pattern, or to add new emojis that are more compatible with the way the puzzle is, or something like that. Can't believe someone left a comment on Facebook, my very first stream comment, and I didn't even notice until half an hour later. I should be doing a better job, but I'm just not used to having people watch me. Alright. I'm also, just so you know, I'm streaming simultaneously on my Facebook Emoji Pop page and on Twitch and on YouTube. So if you go to playmojipop.com, I have the links to all my social media on there. Open the game. Alright, so I've fixed those arrows. Let's just test it. Yeah, so it's going to play a lot smoother. If anything, I waste one move and then it's back. Cool, so that's going to be a smooth top. I probably want to make it a little more intricate. Maybe fill in some of those gaps or something. I can worry about that later. So now we can design the section of the puzzle. Oh, so I noticed it's like not like a red on this row. I want a red maybe here. Change this to be green. There we go. So always got to keep that kind of color balance. So now I want to make the section below the top to be so that it sets up the arrows so that they aren't necessarily going to collide with the top arrows and cause all these hidden reactions at the top. So I want the arrows here. I don't want one here for sure because it's connected to both of them. Maybe something like right here and here. So I'll put like a little placeholder. Something I do a lot. This is where I want the arrows to go so that they don't. But then they could shoot up right, which would be a problem. So maybe not right there is the best choice. This is difficult. Maybe. So I was originally planning on having arrows that go all 6 directions. Now I'm thinking that's not going to be totally feasible with the way I'm designing this level. I could do that on a different level that makes more sense for all 6 directions, but I don't think it's going to make sense here. I was already running into problems with that. So I'm not going to have to use these. I'm not going to use these arrows that go in all 6. I'm going to kind of tailor them to make sure they don't like hit these arrows at the top or something like that. So I do want arrows here still for now. Another thing I could do is have drop points. So I'm trying to go through every solution to make this level work. Eventually I would be like toss it out and be like, okay, this was too much hassle and I'll just create something else. Some levels, they just click and immediately they're just within half an hour you have the perfect level, and sometimes it takes a little more work, even less, 5 minutes even. So, but to do the clear thing, I could have like soap drops. I could even make them kind of big so that I remove the possibility of arrows messing up the puzzle above. So let's just do like a mock example. So if I have an arrow, let's make it go like in 4 directions. So like left, upper right, right. And I'll put it in a spot where so like if it was going up left, it's not gonna hit any of the. It's only gonna hit the soap. It's not gonna hit the emojis. And going up right, same thing. And instead of having the soap go all the way down, because if you hit this arrow, you might as well just hit the soap. So I'm gonna get rid of a couple. Noticing little bugs I need to fix in the editor. So that way when you hit the arrow, and if it's pointed up, it'll feel more like you're saving moves by hitting it, because it'll shoot up and hit the drop point. And I can just make normal matches. I don't have to worry about the arrow piercing them, because it's gonna hit the soap, which drops all these matches that I'm drawing right here anyway. Okay, I'm just gonna do something crazy right now. I have this idea. I don't know if this will take the level in a different direction or if it'll just inspire a future level. So what I'm gonna do is, I like the idea of like, I'm imagining this as being the intro. And so the goal of this level is to hit the arrow in order to clear the soap and get to the next section. I think it would be cool, like, what if on the left hand side I had all these like matches, or I'm just drawing random stuff. I have had matches on the left hand side, and maybe I had dice on the right hand side. That would be like an interesting decision, kind of. Do I want to mess with these single dice and possibly save moves, or do I just hit the regular matches in order to hit the arrow? Like, so the arrow becomes like the goal point, the objective, which is motivating the player's moves. And this choice right here makes this choice makes the gameplay interesting, actually. Instead of just making matches, it's which one do I want to do, and then if you lose, you got to go back and you might decide to play the level differently. It adds a lot of replayability. But using single dice also has risks, because they could kind of wall off the player if they don't roll your way over and over again. If you get really unlucky, you could kind of get stuck. Let's save it. Let's just test it. So I would just shoot randomly kind of at it. So see, that didn't really do anything. That didn't really work in my favor, but I'm kind of making matches now. So now I don't want to hit it. So it kind of stinks to get there and have it not be pointed the right direction. I didn't feel like I felt like I was being punished for something that was out of my control. So I'm going to erase it. Oops. And I'm going to replace it with something that is always pointed up. Looking at the chat now, so if any other questions, definitely hit me up. I'm totally new to all of this. So now what I think I'm doing is I'm just gonna make some little mini arrow puzzles, and I'm just gonna see what gameplay works, like try little new puzzles, and I think something will click. I wanted to have like a far-reaching level. So maybe one reason why what I was doing at the top wasn't working is because the level was so scrunched together. Like the arrows were always going to be kind of hitting each other and messing up the match patterns. So maybe I'll start a new level. I want to refresh really fast. So maybe I'll start a new level and I'll try what I was doing before, where I want to have like these long matches where arrows are going all these directions and it kind of goes down in one piece instead of having sections. I want to try that again, maybe with a wider level, and maybe that was the problem. That was what was preventing the level from succeeding. So let's try it. So we got a bigger level now. Again, you can change the size of your level by changing the number of columns in the edit tab. I'm really excited to see what people do with this. Like most puzzles, if you play a bubble shooter, all the levels will be like the exact same size for some reason. I'm really curious to see like if you made a level of this size, like I think that would be really cool. Like you have all these options. It's like a huge puzzle. Like it could be like one page, just massive, and all these flashing things. I think it could be really interesting. I think I made I don't know. I can't find it, but I made a really cool level that had like a ton of space. So I'm really excited to see what players do with that. But I'm not doing that. Cool. So this is a way bigger level. Let's see if I can make that other design I was making. Let's see if I can get that to work here. So red, yellow, green, blue on the right. I think this is gonna work. I'm just gonna design the structure first. So sometimes it can be annoying to start off with just the match pattern. It can be useful to do the structure first. So the structure is literally just where the bubbles are and where they aren't. So I want to have arrows here. I'll just use a bubble wrap here temporarily, but that's where I want the arrows to go. And so now I have a lot more room. I think this is way better. I think I should have done this at the start. I'm still gonna have the problem of like if I have an arrow here, it could hit this arrow. So what I think I need to do is just through playtesting make sure if this arrow is pointed upright, this arrow should be pointed right maybe, because I don't want it to have a crazy chain reaction where it's shooting all the way up and you can't even see it. So that's just something I need to be wary of. I like that I have 2 arrows in this row and then 1 arrow here. I like that that'll kind of I think it'll create like a zone where it's a little pinchier, a little more difficult, followed by a zone where it's a lot easier. There's 2 arrows, so it'll be a lot easier to get to them. So that could be interesting. That's something else that I think it might be an interesting design effect or whatever. Let's just do one more section and I'll fill in the match pattern and we can test it to see if it works. It would be cool if I start off maybe with this, so the players are given 2 exposed arrows. Instead of digging to the arrow, instead of them being an objective, they're kind of immediately seen as a tool that the player's expected to utilize. And having them hittable from the first row tells players, it communicates that this is an important thing that you need to be focusing on the rest of the level. So that's something I just need to be aware of. That's going to be happening psychologically in the player's head, and I think I can kind of use that to my advantage. Let's design the match. Oh, so also right here, so shooting an arrow upper left doesn't really matter because this upper left matches aren't really attached to anything here. So I think I should have matches here as well, and that also makes it so this arrow, if it's pointed left or right, will also be useful. Okay, so I'm just gonna fill in matches. I'm gonna try to keep them balanced. So I should have like red, yellow, green, blue at the top, for example, and on the left-hand side and right-hand side, I should have about the same number of color of each color. So I have blue and green on the right here, so I want blue and green on the left-hand side as well. Same goes for yellow, red, and I try to keep the yellows and blues as far apart as possible. And then arrows will go here. I might end up filling in with like bubble wraps in places to make it so that, for example, like if I want to get to the blue match, I could use the arrow, but there's this wide gap. I could just mash it. The arrow's not saving me many moves, but by filling in bubble wraps, which require you to keep popping them to climb, I punish players who don't use the arrow by costing them some moves. So yeah, I think this could be interesting. Let me finish filling out the match pattern. So use all colors here. I'll use all colors here as well. So yellow and green are at the bottom. So I kind of want yellow, blue, and red to be at the bottom here. Yellow, green, red, blue. Sometimes like it's not good to just have perfect color balance. You need some like a little bit of chaos that it doesn't make like if it's too perfect, that can kind of actually cause problems on its own depending on the level. So sometimes maybe I don't want to follow this exact pattern of red, blue, yellow, green, red, blue, yellow, green. So sometimes it's useful to just switch one of them, and that kind of solves the problem of it being way too patterned. So I'm gonna put green, yellow, red, blue. And again, if you want to make your own levels, go to playmojipop.com and you can design your own levels if you log into your account. And then you can share them directly to social media for the entire world to play, which is, I don't think that's a thing in any game. Like, what game could you create something in and then have literally everyone in the world be able to play it without buying anything or downloading anything or creating an account? I think that's the most revolutionary aspect of my game right now. So, for example, I do red, blue, yellow, green, red, blue, yellow, green. I'm going to put a blue here to just mix it up a little bit. So, again, it doesn't have to be perfect color balance, but it should be very color balanced throughout as much as you can. Yellow, green. So I have 2 greens here. I don't really need a green here. Maybe I'll add an extra, like, red. Cool, so I have my match pattern. I just need to fill in with the arrows. So again, to code the arrows, code them as in not really coding, you have to click the arrow in the editor panel, and then you can change the directions they're facing and also add how many cycles it has. So this one will flip-flop, for example, between right, left, right, left. I could add a third one, so it goes like right, left, up, left, over and over again, or whatever it is. So this top one should be like up, left, up, right, since those are the only two. Right now, those are the only. Right now, those are the only 2 directions that kind of matter. Oops, I gotta erase this. And same for this one, except I want it to be a little different. I'll go up, right, up, left instead. And so if you hit either one, they'll clear some space, and the other one will then point towards the center here. So that means on the second turn, I want, on the second turn, I want this arrow facing either right or left. On the second turn, if it was facing up, this one would hit this one, which would go up and hit this one, and then all this stuff's happening off screen that the player can't see, and that's not a well-designed level. So I'm thinking I want one that starts like upper right, and then goes right, and maybe upper left, and then left. And I think that will mean that whenever the bottom ones are pointing towards the center, this arrow will be pointing left or right. I'm pretty sure. Cool. Let me just make sure no one is sending any messages. Hello again. Sorry for the intro.